All right, hey, MHayashi here. Um, so yeah, let's uh let's test out two cards in mono white. I know some of you all have been eagerly waiting for this. Two cards from the new set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, that I've been meaning to test in mono white, and I did get around to it, and finally I think I played a good enough, interesting enough league. Um, yeah, and I want to report all to you. Um, yeah, I want to report it all to you. So, yeah, Sunken Citadel. Oh, and yeah, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because I said the MHayashi part, but I didn't say hit that like button and subscribe. Please don't forget. You know you wanna, and yeah. And you can always unlike and unsubscribe if you don't like the content. But I think I got a pretty good track record that you will. In any case, let's test out Sunken Citadel. Um, my initial impressions were very positive in the mono red deck. Let's try it out in mono white. Um, and one thing about mono white that mono red doesn't have is we actually have a source of repeated value that we can actually start activating early, and we can actually get value turn after turn after turn possibly with Sunken Citadel. That's something that like the mono red deck didn't have. We had Blast Zone, but Blast Zone was situational. We would have to wait. It's reactive. We have to wait for them to play something. And Sunken Citadel does help in the sense that it can both juice it up faster and it can activate the um, Blast Zone for less and a full turn earlier, as early as turn 3 if need be. We still have Blast Zone in the sideboard for the matchups where we need it, and Sunken Citadel can still work that magic there if, for those games. But we need at least 8 basics for the 8 fields, and I just feel like 8 fields just kind of fits this archetype very well because we got our paths, we got our Winds of Abandon, and like, I mean, they're already going to be searching basics, but between like path pulling basics out of the deck, winds pulling basics out of the decks, and 8 fields pulling basics out of the deck, they run out of basics pretty quick, and then pretty quickly path and winds become just free roll value with no downside, which is pretty nice, and these become straight up strip mines. So I would honestly play path and winds regardless, even if not for the 8 fields. But as long as I'm playing path and winds, yeah, 8 fields just feels like a very natural fit in this archetype. It's just a free way to get some disruption. Um, so yeah, and yeah, so we got Castle here, and activating Castle on turn 4. I mean, making a 1/1 for 4 mana on turn 4, and it doesn't sound so impressive, but the value is if I've got nothing better to do, I mean, being able to crank out a 1/1 token is infinitely better than doing nothing. And I know it's hard to explain because it but at the end of the day, you just got to see it to believe it. It's just one tokens. If there's one thing I learned from Seasoned Pyromancer, it's that a 1/1 token is a lot more valuable than you would ever think, especially in this format of Orcus Bowmasters and Ragavans. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, aren't 1/1 tokens less valuable than ever because of Orcus Bowmaster? Well, not when you can generate them. You can generate multiple of them or regenerate them possibly indefinitely. Um, like with Seasoned Pyromancer, we produce multiple of them as long as we don't get blasted with Bowmaster in response to Seasoned Pyromancer. Those 1/1 tokens can, we produce at least 2, and those can in turn block a Bowmaster. And Castle Ardenvale, this can also block a Orcus Bowmaster. Sure, it gets zapped by a Bowmaster, but it blocks a Bowmaster. And if they zap one, fine, we'll just make another one. And I know it doesn't sound like much blocking an Orcus Bowmaster. They're just not gonna attack into it. But one of the things about Orcus Bowmaster is so powerful is that the card is just kind of free value, and they can just keep chipping in. And a lot of times decks don't necessarily play like just cards that can freely block. Like most of the cards people play, like they have decent value in and of themselves. Like Ragavan, for example, you're not going to block a Bowmaster with Ragavan. Obviously, it's going to be the other way around. But they're obviously going to kill Ragavan, and then you see what I mean? Like then Bowmaster just kind of ends up kind of just getting in there with impunity. But here we've got potentially free blocker. Anyway, um, the other card I've been meaning to test out, and I finally got a hands on my copies. It dropped in price a little bit, and I was like, okay, now's the time. I'm just not. I don't know, like it's not like I necessarily am the most cost-conscious Magic player of all time. I'm probably very much not, but I think at one point this was like over $10, over 10 tickets a piece, and I was just like, no thanks. I think this went down to like 5-ish, somewhere between 7 and 5. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, it dropped enough where I'm like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Um, this is the type of card where it's like, I mean, paying like 7 ticks or something, or I don't know if it went up in price. Like yeah, it's but let's just see. Let's just see. We want to try this out because I have a feeling this could be like Path to Exile in that it's the kind of thing where your initial thought is, well, 2 map tokens, that's way too much value. But, that's what people thought with Path to Exile, giving, mana ramping them a full turn, card disadvantage, like Path to Exile. But Path to Exile turned out to be one of the best removal spells ever printed. Yeah, honestly, I think it should see more play even to today. Yeah, it's one of, I mean, especially with so few basics players are playing nowadays. Um, yeah, Path to Exile is the real deal. And it turned out, and it could turn out that these map tokens are also just not as viable. Now, I will say, actually, it wasn't it was actually after this league. So I'm kind of reaching into the future a little bit to give this insight, but without necessarily spoiling it for how Get Lost goes in this league. Because this is a post-league commentary. I have been dabbling with Sentinel, the Nameless City, a little bit in the green deck, and so here's the thing, okay? The map tokens, they're very good if they start snowballing with this thing, but 1 or 2 map tokens doesn't make that big of a difference. I don't know how else to put it. It's like when this thing snowballs and keeps generating map tokens turn after turn after turn, and they don't have a way to deal with it, and I keep like making sure that I don't draw lands because if the arrow lands, they go into my hand, and then I draw the next thing after that the next turn, or that I push cards I don't want to the bottom. That can be very powerful, but I have noticed that activating 1 or 2 map tokens almost always feels like it doesn't really matter almost at all. Plus, on top of that, one thing I also noticed is there's a lot of situations where I don't have creatures, and then those map tokens they don't do anything. They're not clue tokens. This is one of the major reasons why I felt like Get Lost might be a lot better than Fateful Absence. Is that like even though Fateful Absence only makes 1 clue token, a couple things. First of all, that clue token is guaranteed to put them up 1 card. The map tokens don't necessarily do that. They might pump, and while they do give you the option to put the card on top to the bottom, if they pump and the card that you wanted to draw is something you wanted to draw anyway, then all it effectively did was pump, and that's a very, very, very minimal. That's a very, very minimal thing. If they do put it to the bottom, then it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a scry, but scrying as much as it is valuable is nowhere near as good as just putting that right into your hand. And on top of that, it's just the fact that it can only be activated at sorcery speed, and the fact that you need to have creatures, and you can just respond to the activation to kill the creature in response, and they won't get the explore. Now, while exploring itself, if a creature has explore when it comes into play, you can't stop the explore. You can stop a creature getting targeted from the map token, and then it won't explore. It will never explore, so the ability never resolves. It's a fine distinction, but it does work that way. I've experienced it on the other end, trying to target my own Sentinel. All of which is to say, from playing with map tokens on my side of the table, I am very much inclined to think that the map tokens may actually turn out to be relatively marginal in the same way Path to Exile's basic land is relatively marginal. And what this offers is potentially very huge because this is more planeswalker removal. We don't really have. This is one of the things this deck always struggled with. We don't necessarily have a very good way to just kill a planeswalker outright. We did have Fateful Absence before, but again, that clue token. Fateful Absence is 2 white mana. I mean, 1 white, 1 colorless, like same mana cost as this instant. And it's destroy target creature or planeswalker. This one says destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. So Fateful Absence only destroys a creature or planeswalker, not enchantment. So that's one downside. But then the clue token, I think, is infinitely more valuable to them than the 2 map tokens. But it also cannot be understated that also getting more free enchantment removal, mainly for Urza Saga, is very big. And the fact that this I can play on turn 2, potentially that's another way to really punish them for Urza Saga and really keep them down on mana. Well, yeah. The other cards, you can see my previous videos where I go over them. It's all pretty much the same stuff as before. So I think with that, let's get to the games. All right. Let's see how game 1 goes. And yeah, that's a keep. All right, Inspector Gadget. Let's go. Yeah, sleight of hand. Oh yeah, definitely. And Nauseam. All right, that's a giant problem because our deck is not set up to handle ad nauseam whatsoever. Yeah, that's a problem. All we can really do is try to interact with them with our fields, but that is not likely to get us there. That is the problem here. But it's all we can do. So if it's all we can do, and that goes to the bottom, obviously. Yeah, I guess that goes on top, but I don't know. I don't see that winning us the game, but hit this stuff on upkeep, I guess, or draw step, just in case they don't draw anything. Makes us wonder, what if we would have hit that on the main phase instead? Maybe we were being too clever there. Okay. All right. Okay. What was the sideboard plan here? Obviously, Wind's Wrath completely irrelevant in this matchup. Yeah, I guess we'll bring in a Haywire Mite. We bring in Blast Zone. That path is also relevant. We're going to Haywire Mite, Blast Zone, and I guess Relic. Relic is just a redraw. And we take out we took out something for Forest, but I'm not sure what. We brought in 2 relics. Oh yeah, so I guess that's what we did. We took out 4 paths. Brought in 2 relics, 2 forests. Or 1 forest, 1 giant killer. I think this one had 2 forests. Yeah, I think I got my little. Yeah, here we go. I'm correcting my little. Yeah, there we go. All right. All right. Let's go. I think. All right. Well, once again, we have no plan. Well, in last game it wouldn't have mattered. I forgot because they had 3 black off of the Lotus Petal, so it wouldn't have mattered. Main phase, second main phase, whatever. I mean main phase, our phase. Lotus Petal gives them all the color they need. So, honestly, I didn't switch to Modern from Legacy to avoid decks like this. I didn't because, for whatever reason, decks like these never really bothered me that much in Legacy. I just accepted it as a fact of life. However, I did start to enjoy that Modern didn't quite have as much of these as Legacy. But I guess since I didn't complain about them before, no point in starting to complain about them now. It makes for some ungames, but it is what it is. I guess one thing though that just bothers me a little bit is just that at least in Legacy you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to how they played that without although they probably just need 1 more turn or something. But in Legacy, like, you can almost expect that you're going to face a combo deck at least once or twice each league, and what that means is that you will be rewarded for preparing. However, in Modern, ironically, because combo decks are more fringe, at least non-creature based combo decks, it means that sometimes they just get you because, you know, unless you're playing blue, you don't necessarily have, it doesn't necessarily make sense to gun for it. So, yeah, alright. Alright, I guess we're on the play. Check my sideboard out real quick. Oh, I didn't have 2 forests. I had I guess I brought in 1 giant killer in that last match. I guess I was worried about they would, I was worried about them playing shielded or something. Not impossible, but check that, yeah, check the, sideboard here. Okay, alright, let's go. No, that last hand had no white, so no white sources. So had to mulligan. Let's get our Thraben Inspector out here. Alright, so Rakdos scammy type of deck. Okay. Oh yeah, and of course this post ban. It's Asmo. It's an Asmo deck. I think I can beat these. So notably, we can march, but I'm going to test me some Get Lost here. Yeah, it's the most mana efficient thing for me to do. And unlike Winds of Abandon, Get Lost doesn't mana ramp them. All right, let's get that out of the way there. If they play Urza Saga, we're going to insta march here. I'm always remembering not to pass priority and the insta scoop, and that's the power of March. Just insta scoop into Urza Sagas. Okie dokie. Oh yeah, so we're gonna keep this for sure. First time we get to see Citadel this league. What's the sideboard plan here? I think we can take out Castle for another field. Might sound strange, but you know, I don't think we need the 1/1 tokens that much in this matchup. I don't think they play Ragavan. Well, I guess we'll find out. But regardless, this is a deck where we have attrition pretty under control, I think, without the castles, and we do need to be able to deal with the Urza Saga. So there you go. Walking Ballista doesn't actually end up doing that much in this matchup. Again, I don't think they've got Ragavan, but even if they do, they don't play that many 1 toughness creatures. Take out Walking Ballista for, what do you call it, Haywire Mite. And I'm surprised I didn't bring in the relics, but I guess that's fine. We take a 1 Wrath of God for 1 forest, and we call it a day. Sounds reasonable, yeah. Yeah, sounds reasonable. Alright, let's see here. Alright, Asmo time. Cookbook time. Yeah, I guess I don't want to take 3 damage, although an argument could be made that taking 3 damage would be better than mana boosting them. Or maybe it's mono red. We're probably gonna get lost at Urza Saga. And that's something you can't do. Ooh, Inti. Oh, okay. So I get just do more stuff here. We're under the gun with the 4/4 Dragon Race Channeler, courtesy of our map token. I'm not gonna say that Get Lost is bad just because we have to contend with them drawing some cards and all of that. I will have to say that in this match, the food tokens became a little bit of a problem. However, last match, the food tokens were a big nothing burger, so. Not food, I mean the map tokens. And at least for the time being, got them cleared out. We can potentially draw some cards here. Look at what they got, Oh, they're gonna play the cookbook first, no? Okay. That's a spicy meatball, put that to the bottom. Okay, let's draw a card. Okay, let's Thraben Inspector, Gadget. Let's just play this out. Also, the sooner we can gain 4 life, potentially the better. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Uh-oh, they do have Ragavan. Spaghetti-O. Put that on top, because they can't really use that too well. Oh, lightning bolt, okay. Yeah, to put the bottom. No, yeah. La 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 la. Inspector gadget. Yeah, I needed two things, and I can't get. Alright, now that we know we're up against Ragavan, do we change the sideboarding? We do. So we, an argument could be made that we still want Wrath of God, but, so castles still come out for fields. Wraths still come out for Haywire Mites. And one Walking Ballista comes out for one Forest. And, yeah, so I agree with that. 3 Walking Ballistas, I think those are, that's the way to go here. Alrighty. Well, we got, I was almost, no, I don't think I'm going to play turn 1 Urza Saga. Not much value to be had there. Okay, hopefully we can Walking Ballista tag that. I gotta take 1 turn off of killing the Urza Saga. Yeah, Walking Ballista seems like the jazz. Let's keep this up for blocking. We had to do that so that we had to kill that before they could get Delirium. Alright, Inspector Gadget. We gain 2 life, so not too bad. Urza Saga and Insta March. Oh yeah, let's go. Oh, that feels so sweet. Oh yeah. Oh, that does not feel sweet. Yeah, we'll let them get lost because can't really cast it. Okay. Oh yeah, that's Ranger time. We don't want them discarding this. Plus, Ragavan, they can kill this maybe in Dash Ragavan, but thanks to these double inspectors, Ragavan's pretty much a non-issue for the rest of the game. Yeah, I mean, so they do, but yeah, we'll just do that. And they just give up. Not sure why they just give up. I mean, they do have an active Urza Saga here. I guess we've got an active Demolition Field, double Thraben Inspector. Yeah, not looking good for that. Okay. Everybody, everywhere. This hand's a keeper. Thraben Inspector on turn 1. Alright, let's see. Oh, get lost. Okay, so actually, well, until we do this March, I guess we're going to get lost that. Unfortunately, though, their deck can really, I think, take advantage of these map tokens. That's the only problem. But it was slightly more mana efficient to get lost there rather than March. Anyway. They are drawing a bunch of lands. On the other hand, we have our ways. Dryad. Plus with all this, yeah, I mean, multiple paths, always good. As long as they don't have a way to give their Titan haste. Okay, they shoot us for 3. Put that to the bottom. Ranger time? No, just Wrath of God time. Yeah, we can't let that thing live. Alright, that's fine. They don't have a way to give it haste yet, so not super worried. Okay, we got March for one of those. Oh yeah, perfect. Field, March, Path. So I think we got this under control here. March the other one. And then we can Path draw a card. Path that. Okay, for the One Ring, okay. Clue. Citadel. Alright, well, got some Ranger action going here. Yeah, double Thraben seems reasonable. We gotta hold up Path because with an active ring, this is very, yep, Amulet. Titan, we would have just been straight up dead here pretty much. So we have to hold up path. Azusa, Amulet Titan, Dolaria West. Oof. Alright. Man, I don't think there's any deck quite like this in Legacy, ever. It's kind of a creature combo deck, except that creature removal that ain't like it's okay, but it's not. I mean, at least unlike Nauseam, it does do something, but not necessarily. Doesn't necessarily do a lot. One thing I've noticed, Amulet Titan players take way too long to play, and we will force them to have to play timely, because that is not our problem, that's their problem. Okay, Wrath of God? Oh, okay, well at least we got double that. Kind. I don't know, that seems a little reckless to me, to be honest. That seems a little reckless to me that they hit that. Because now we can do literally everything. Wait a minute, do they have enough to pay? Dude, I don't think they've got enough to pay. They can't. Oh. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a misplay if I do say so. Okay, alright, next one. And when I said actually misplay last time, I meant a misplay on their behalf. Actually, it turns out I knew exactly what I was doing when I was fielding that Karoo land. I remember this now. I'm like, wait a minute. If I hit this, I don't think they can pay for packs. And I was right. But in looking at the replay, I was like, why am I just randomly going after this? This doesn't really matter at this point. Oh yeah, it mattered a lot. So, uh, yeah. Sometimes, sometimes you know more what you're doing when you're playing in the actual game. Most of the time, you have more of a benefit in hindsight, but sometimes you know more in the spot than you do in hindsight every once in a while. All right. Walking Ballista is kind of a big nothing burger in this matchup, so that comes out for Haywire Mite. Castles come out for more fields, obviously, in this matchup. Fields are one of our only ways to interact, so we will. Take out 1 Plains for 1 Forest. Take out 2 Wraths for 2 Giant Killers. Makes perfect sense, because for the most part, Giant Killer is just an instant speed, cheaper Wrath that also gives us a creature that can tap future Titans. Yeah, way better than Wrath of God for the most part in this matchup, so let's go. But we'll still keep 2 Wraths, because why not? Alrighty. And the Insta-Scoop. Okay. Yeah. No reason to speculate, but I doubt it's because of our deck. While our deck I think does have the ability to interact with Titan, I don't think there's anything on our side of the table that would make the opponent feel the matchup is hopeless on their side. So whatever it is, it's probably idiosyncratic to whatever this player had going on. Best of luck. Okay. Alrighty. Blood Crypt. Oh, so it looks like it's probably a Death Shadow type deck. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to take a good I was gonna use a word that probably shouldn't have. We're gonna take a good thrashing from it's Gen Saga Man from Ragman. So we'll probably march this. Inquisition. Let's march that. Unfortunately, bye-bye Mazemind Tome. That was our little Ren and 6 we were going to try to use. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. They got Tarmogoyf. Uh-oh, we've got Path Exile, so maybe we're okay. Ooh. Yeah, just for mana efficiency's sake. In retrospect, they've got Urza Sagas, so this was a mistake. Plus, they got an active Ren and 6 to keep recurring that. Oh, bye-bye Wrath of God. Yeah, it's not looking good. Uh-oh. I'm kind of just throwing reckless abandon into this stuff. I'm desperately hoping at least I can prevent a Giganta next turn, I guess, but obviously that's not going to happen. Well, now I need to rip a Wrath of God off the top. So hopefully they play Giganta. Wrist. Lovely. At least we know they're out of basics. Alright. I'm just going to call this deck Jun Saga, actually, because I mean, obviously they play Ragavan. Blah, 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 blah. Actually, why you bring Haywire Mite. Exiling Urza Saga so they can't return it with Ren and 6 seems pretty good, but I think I have to trust in what I'm doing. Since Citadel's come out for our fields, I do think this is a matchup where Castle shines because of the Ragavans, and sometimes buying time jump blocking Tarmogoyf can be very relevant. Plus also blockers for Bowmasters and whatnot. So yeah, the Castle is an all-star in this matchup. I don't think we necessarily need to fire off our fields on turn 2 every single time. Sometimes, obviously, it can be helpful to do it for 1 less mana, but I think we can survive without that. Take out Wrath of God for I take out 2 Walking Ballistas for your Giant Killers. Makes sense. Those Giant Killers are great for chopping some Tarmogoyfs down. What do we take the Wrath of Gods out for? Oh yeah, Relic of Progenitus. Yeah, Relic is kind of a no-brainer, I think, to bring in if you got it in this matchup. Let's go. Yeah. Alrighty, and there's the Relic we were just talking about. But and honestly, we lead off on it, because at the end of the day, this is one of the things I still like about Relic, man. Say what you want, but Relic really kneecaps that, yeah, and as inefficient as this may seem, I just think it's best to see if we can use Thraben Inspector as a roadblock. I mean, them terminating a Thraben Inspector, in my humble experience, is value in and of itself, you know? We can't, contrary to popular belief, getting touched by Ragavan once does not actually end the game, especially when they have to do things like terminate a Thraben Inspector, in my humble opinion. Although it's not like we've got some super huge creature, though, that necessarily, just get lost. Get lost. And get retired. Alright, well, we've already exiled a bunch of stuff. Okay, fine, play Bowmasters. You know, Bowmasters is more annoying than anything else, because they think, like, oh, I got you. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I think we still move. Unfortunately, though, those map tokens really, beefy these guys up. So they put the lightning bolt and push to the bottom too. I don't know though. That could be a mistake on their part. Exile that so they can't keep returning it. Always nice. We are kind of under the gun though. Might have to chump block the Orc army. Yeah. Gonna angle in for 2 of Wrath or something. It's kind of hard to say. Oh, Path, yeah. I'll definitely keep a Path. Yeah, let's draw a card. Maybe we'll draw a card while, yeah. Alright, well, hopefully they don't have double bolt. We wanted to draw a card while they didn't have Bowmaster mana up, because at effectively 6 life, now Bowmaster does kind of get us. Before it was just kind of an annoyance. But now it does kind of get us. At least Ren and 6 results in mana screw. Oh yeah, that's a good one. So scry 1. Yeah, let's do that. Draw a card. Get retired. That's interesting. I guess we had to deal with the Ren and 6, didn't we? Now hopefully they go map token on the Orc army because we can march in response. We'll march in response to this one. Yeah, we strategically did that because we did not want them to use their map token on Jegantha. And they did put Ragavan to the bottom, which I guess makes sense. Alright, that sucks because I was looking forward to gaining that 4 life. But we can chop us down some Jegantha, place a giant killer. Terminate a giant killer. Now that is something that warrants terminate a little more. As long as they don't double bolt. You know, chip in a prayer. Chip in a chair and a prayer. George St. Pierre. Alright, let's go here. Man, being at 5 is just so dangerous that I'm not going to attack here. I think I've got to be the one favored if the game drags out a little further. Time to go here. Well, we can either tap it or path it. Let's do this. Let's do that. And do that. We'll attack with these two. I have no idea why I attacked with the Giant Killer. I feel like I should have attacked with the Thraben Inspector instead, but oh, I guess that's probably a misclick because Giant Killer is more valuable. Maybe my thinking was, oh yeah, actually maybe I know what my thinking was. My thinking was I want to be able to, if they kill a Thraben Inspector, kill the Walking Ballista, I want to have another Thraben Inspector up to block Ragavan, so I guess it makes sense. Okay. See if the sideboard didn't change at all. Nope, pretty much same as before, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Let's go. Ooh, I don't think I can keep that. Yeah, only one land. This one is more like it. La la la, Thraben Inspector. Woohoo! Thraben Inspector. Yeah. Ooh, Winds of Abandon. Ooh, this Winds of Abandon. The old Thoughtseize glitch. Gotta love it. At least we can kind of keep the Tarmogoyf at bay a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna draw. And I guess we can path the Tarmogoyf too for good measure. They can kill the clue token if they really want to. Yeah, I can dig it. But it's not necessarily the end all be all for them. Alright, well we can march that. Definitely don't mind if I do. Got 3, they played a 2-cost card. I had 3 mana up. I'm gonna hold this for Urza Saga. If I didn't draw that Winds, then I might be a little more worried about the Jegantha, but since I drew the Winds, oh, and even better. I'm just gonna do this, yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know too many like effects they play. Like they don't play Tamiyo's Safekeeping. I'm taking my Ranger was a little mean though. Alright, well let's see. Or Kishbo Master. Pithing and Needle. La 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 la, Walking Ballista. Inspector Gadget. Alright, let's see here. Alright, Walking, yeah, I wanted to say Walking Ballista for 2. Now seems like the perfect opportunity, because now if they kill this, I get to take, basically this is holding their Bowmaster and their Orc token hostage, which I love. I love Walking Ballista in this meta. Walking Ballista, kind of underrated. Ooh. You know, I could have blocked, right? Because I know what they. Okay. All right, well, that's fine. Well, you know, it's probably better to put the Ren and 6 on 2. Oh no. Okay, well, Winds of Abandon. Yeah, I'm just gonna march that. Marcha. Oh, they're getting in there with the Orc tokens. But it's castle time. It's castle time. You know, you can never underestimate. Okay, well, we just drew another power card, but see, this is the thing. If you have nothing else to do, just being able to crank out 1/1 tokens, it's better than it seems. Like, even though it costs 5 mana, like, it's just Castle is just relatively free. Just almost no deck building cost, and it just cranks out 1/1 tokens. But obviously, Ranger, kind of instant refill here. Don't mind if we do. Yeah, and bolt that, yada, 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 yada. Okay, yeah, so what we can do is we can attack, and then what we do is we march the Shadow Sphere. Yeah, unfortunately, okay. Maybe I shouldn't have done that in my attack phase because I was a little bit worried about Kolaghan's command before I could actually play it. Oh no. Yeah, hopefully we don't get Raga tagged. Okay, we get Raga. Okie dokie. Let's go. Let's go. All for all the marble. Oh, yeah, I think last one had no mana. This one we do at the end of the day. Plus we got potentially Citadel into a bunch of fields, which is always nice. Since this looks like whatchamacallit, Murktide, I think we just we had to keep this up for dashing Raga, but now we can probably just hit the Citadel here, I think, because we want to limit their ability to have 2 blue mana up. Thankfully, in mono white, we're not necessarily as worried about Murktide when we've got like a lot of hard removal, like Get Lost and all that stuff. All right. So we got some interaction here. Lorien revealed it. It's been a while since I've seen that in Murktide, but hey. All right, Murky Murk. So, do I want to get lost in a turn, or do I want to win? So I think I'm gonna wins. Pretty sure they're going to counterspell, but then we get lost. I don't play a ton of creatures. The fewer creatures decks play, the less meaningful these map tokens are. Yeah, if they got a 1/1 token, though, that 1/1 token will go away when it returns to its hand, so there's that. Alright, so I'm going to hold up Castle activation. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to force them to have to use a removal spell on the Castle token, which I'm sure they do, but at the end of the day, there is definitely value to be had. Alright, map token. Alright, let's march that right now. Kind of had to. I'm still going to start producing tokens. It's just the most efficient way to offer up. Yeah, I mean, hey, that lightning bolt did not go to the face. Plus, they're getting lands out of the way, so let's continue to try to put up roadblocks to Ragavan. First, let's march this thing. Spell Snare, okay, fine. Technically, I could have played around that by casting it for 3, but I did not expect Spell Snare, to be honest. Alright, well, they're using all their bolts. Hopefully, the last card in their hand is not a counterspell. In fact, I think it's Misty Rainforest. Now, that Thraben Inspector was a little annoying to see, but I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. Double Thraben, I think is my jam. Let's go. Now, for the time being, only real thing we have to worry about is the Dragon Race Channeler. Clue. Get a clue. Alrighty, let's definitely play that. Spell Pierce? Okay. Pay for Spell Pierce. Yeah, I can pay for Spell Pierce. Let's draw a card. Let's try to march that while we can. Alrighty. Let's try to get some damage in while we can. Yeah, it just seems like better use to attack. Bird Lawyer. Holy Heat. Alright, so, and once again, they're going to dash the Ragavan, although it's just, Yeah, we'll definitely keep that. But I do think that once we start gaining a life off of these Mazemind Tomes, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Try to keep them off of a. Yeah, put a blocker for Ragavan. Path the Shredder on their upkeep. Don't draw any more cards. They scoop because they drew nothing and they knew I was going to start gaining life, and I don't see how they come back after that. Plus, we have another path, even if they top Murktide. Okay, match 5, game 2. For all the marbles, I don't know why in the earth did I side out Castle Ardenvale. That castle seemed like hot gas last game, but I did side in another field because I guess fielding them is very valid considering that they play relatively few basics and it's especially no basic mountains, so it's actually not that hard to keep them off of red. That being said, I think in retrospect I probably should have sided out Citadel. I don't think I necessarily need to start hitting their mountains immediately. Anyway, so we definitely take out uh, 4 Wrath of Gods for 2 relics, I think, and 2 giant killers. And I think that's reasonable. The main thing, Wrath of God can be good, but it's kind of just begging to be spell pierced. So although it seems a little iffy to do that, I stand behind it, and I think I still do that even after this league. I think that's generally how I go about it. Wrath of God is a card that I'll keep in my deck if I've got nothing better to bring in, but it is a card that is cuttable in this matchup. Plus, most of the time they dash Ragavan, so Wrath of God never really hits Ragavan usually. Don't blood moon me, bro. All right, and it's and just like that, it ends not with a bang, but with a whimper. But in all seriousness, though, this is out of all my decks, I think mono white kind of trashes on Murktide the most. I have still once in a while lost to Murktide if I get mana screwed, or they just have a very good combination of Murktide, early Ragavan that I can't deal with, backed it with counter spells, and I just don't draw a lot of removal. But my deck is kind of filled to the brim with hard removal like Path, Winds of Abandon, Get Lost, Wrath of God, Giant Killer after sideboarding. Um, my deck is kind of just so chock full with hard removal that doesn't necessarily care about converted mana cost. I mean, March of Otherworldly Light kind of cares about converted mana cost, but that's pretty much the only one that does. Everything else is pretty much a hard answer to Murktide. So yeah, even without graveyard hate, Murktide is not as much of is probably least of an issue in this deck than it is on any of my other decks. Murktide's biggest advantage is that it has very high mana cost and it has very high toughness, and most removal cares about converted mana cost or cares about toughness. But it just so happens that almost all the removal I play cares about neither, which that is a big plus for this deck. And with that, we're 4-1. And hey, I'm not gonna say that this is like the final necessarily. This is the final build. But my initial thoughts is get lost. Not bad. All right, hey, post league matchup. I'm sorry, post league commentary. Yeah. So the takeaway here is that I do like this deck. I think the mono white deck out of all my decks may actually be the closest in power level now to the mono red deck. The main thing it's got going for it is that the removal is so unconditional. It's the most unconditional of any other deck, basically. I also think mono white has the least hate for it out of any other color. I think blue could use a little more hate, but I guess it does have Veil of Summer. But there's like not almost all there really is sort of Turok Dead Canter that actually is playable and has protection from white. Almost nothing sees play that has protection from white. There's very few cards like Veil of Summer that punish you for playing a white spell. So we don't get hosed by random pro-red jank and stuff, like the mono-red deck does. And since Sanctifier and back, the mono-black deck kind of gets hosed by Sanctifier too a little bit. So there are some advantages here. Of course, the problem is we don't have reach. The deck is even slower than mono red. Mono red is relatively slow as is, but that Seasoned Pyromancer dumping 4 power on turn 3, spread over 3 bodies. You can't underestimate how that does put some pressure on the opponent. We don't have anything quite like that here. Although, we do have Ranger, but Ranger is infinitely slower because it's turn 4 and it only dumps 3 power on turn 4, and then you've got to play the rest the next turn, and But overall, I think this deck is pretty good. Now, I'm very much kind of still experimenting, but the next place I may go with this deck is something more like this. Now, actually, in that game, I was so impressed with Castle that so I thought of playing Cave of the Frost Dragon again. My thinking was like, oh well, Thraben Inspector, I want to be able to play on turn 2. Actually, in watching this replay, I was able to cast turn 1 Thraben Inspector relatively consistently enough. I know, you can't always count on it, but my mana was good enough, and the castle is impressive enough that I think castle is just infinitely better than cave. We can also activate castle 1 turn early, and if they kill the token, I keep the land. That's kind of huge. With Cave of the Frost Dragon, if they kill the land, then I lose the land. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I'm thinking something like this here. So here's the thing, actually. I've started to get a little disillusioned with Volatile Fault since this league and since running back the mono red deck here. I don't think I have it saved anymore, but that mono red deck that I 5-0'd, that was actually in a friendly league, and I'm not gonna say it's because I was in a friendly league, but let's just say that Citadel not necessarily producing value in and of itself led to some situations where I felt kind of flooded. So what I've been kind of experimenting with more so in red at the moment, and you'll see some videos of that in the future. But I'm also thinking to experiment with this in some other decks too. But I've got my I actually kind of like the idea of Volatile Fault here because one of the main things I like about Citadel. I know the Citadel can activate Castle early, but as we saw, we only end up activating Castle very late in the game once we run out of all this other stuff to do. So honestly, I don't think it makes that big of a difference saving 1 mana on Castle. I could be wrong, but that's my instinct. But Volatile Fault also enables me to potentially keep them off of Tron starting on turn 2, or keep them off of Urza Saga if we really need it, or whatever. Or hit the Amulet land starting as early as turn 2. So there is a lot of value to be had, and I think this serves the purpose. The main purpose I was liking about Sunken Citadel, but one of the things I like about Volatile Fault is that like this deck, believe it or not, 8 fields oftentimes in and of themselves just don't feel like enough to really actually keep Tron under control. They do end up pretty easily drawing the rest of their Tron. Drawing through the rest of their deck or searching the rest of their deck for the Tron lands and putting the Tron lands in play and going off, so to speak. I kind of like the idea that this also just makes me a little more all in on the Ponza type of a plan. So there's something to be said. There's something to be said about that. Can't ever see myself getting away from Haywire. Also, in retrospect, I think we need to play Chalice. This deck plays so few 1-drops, and also we need some game against burn. Oh yeah, and Nauseam. Like Chalice could have helped against that Nauseam matchup. Chalice on 1 against that Nauseam stops both Angel's Grace and Spoils of the Vault, and Chalice on 0 stops both Lotus Field and whatever's called Lotus Bloom and Profane Tutor. So Chalice is quite a meaningful way to interact. It's not going to necessarily automatically win us the game, but we actually can fight back against Amulet, which is nice. And Nauseam, which is good. And also it gives us at least some way to fight back against Burn too, which is nice. We can name 1 and then 2. It would be ideal. I mean, it's possible that Chalice, it's possible that I might not need Chalice, but I don't know, man. If you can all think of a card, because this deck has a number of matchups that we could use some improvement on, and unlike Red, I do think that while I while Cascade is a beast of a deck, and honestly, I don't. I think Rhino specifically will always have a good matchup against pretty much all my mid-range decks, and including this one. However, unlike the Red deck, I do feel like the Rhinos matchup is winnable. I feel like I do win that a much bigger percentage of the time than I with this deck than I do with the red decks. I don't think I win a majority of the time, but I feel like it's way closer to like 40-ish% with this deck, and maybe Chalice can even push it over the line. That's the hope. Because we do have Wrath of God and potentially wins, but of course Force and Negation is such a ugh. But anyway. But yeah, if any of y'all know, like Chalice, man, it shores up the burn matchup, it shores up the Cascade matchup, it shores up random combo decks like a Nauseam. There are so many decks that Chalice helps to shore up, and also conceptually, I just like the way while there are some decks theoretically that play a bunch of basics and play some kind of big mana combo kill, the reality, and I guess Coffers is one of the few decks that's kind of like that. But other than Coffers, I don't know of too many decks that both play a ton of basics and are also super top heavy and going over the top slash comboing off the top. The vast majority of big mana decks play a ton of non-basics and relatively few basics. And so I kind of like the way the fields are kind of my my way to interact with decks that want to go big on mana for the most part. Coffers is one of the few exceptions. I don't really know what I could do about Coffers. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm necessarily a complete lost cause against Coffers, but but I mean, I could accept having one matchup where I just don't necessarily, there's not that much I can do to interact with it. But at the end of the day, conceptually speaking, what I do like is the vast majority of the time, I do think that the fields can help shore up the matchups that want to go big, and Chalice helps shore up the matchups that want to go small. So that's the thinking at least. Unfortunately, though, what this does, because all of these cards seem super necessary, suddenly I don't have room for graveyard hate, and I think we turn to our good friend Rest in Peace as a 2 of. Like, if I only have 2 slots left, and I do need 1 slot, unfortunately, for the basic forest for Haywire, and I'm not devoting main deck space for the forest. If I'm not playing Haywire's main, I don't want to play that forest main. I'm telling you, that's going to screw me up. It'll screw me up sometimes in the sideboarding games, but at least it'll only screw me up in the games where it was actually necessary for me to actually use the Haywire ability. Like, I can tolerate that more. I can't tolerate the force screwing me up in games where I'm not even going to see the benefit of Haywire Mite, which is more matchups than you might think. I don't necessarily bring up Haywire Mite in every single match. Yeah, unfortunately that means I got to cut those. That means I have to cut those giant killers, which they do have absolutely their value, like you see. But in those matchups, it's not necessarily like the giant killer itself wasn't necessarily that super helpful, and like Wrath of God, I think there was only one time that I only had 3 mana, but Wrath of God is only 1 mana more, so it's pretty close to what Giant Killer does anyway, for the most part, and it is sorcery, but anyway, I think, unfortunately, I don't know how else to fit all the cards I want to fit, but this is kind of the direction that I'm thinking to take this, I'm thinking to take this now, and you might see videos of this in the future, and this is subject to change. I have not, as you can see, at 0-0, this means I haven't actually tested it yet. I'm trying to log my my results here again. I didn't for a while because what happened. Well, the main reason I go away from logging the results is sometimes, like, if I just really hate where the deck's going, I just scrap it. And if I'm like scrapping a bunch of decks, I don't know. But I think I'm moving towards the point again, maybe where I'm solid enough that I want to be like, okay, I want to get a good feeling for how good is this deck actually doing, kind of thing. So anyway, haven't tested this deck yet, and sometimes I can get off to a rocky start, like with this deck, which we'll see in the future. But then I shore it up because I'm like, I still think it's got some chops, and yeah, So anyway, I guess take care, everybody. I guess gotta leave it at that. Oh yeah, and shout out to the patrons: Dave Molina, B0812, Paul Lynn, Alison Sinitis, and Limitless Brian, Necrosis, Adrian King, Gavin Downer, Daryl, B-Train4, Savage O's, Jules Varro, Kevin Robach, Roland Sunderman, S. Robertson, HJCLAU, Sophus Garrett, Erwin Lopez, Jeff H., Brian H., Izzy Cole Smith, Andrew Watts, Michael Patton. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.